In my previous video about the Pistole 34, I briefly mentioned its successor, the Pistole 42. So today I thought it would be interesting to take a brief look at it and show you just how different it is from the 34. So just like many German weapons and military equipment, their flare guns started out as very nice, machined, high-quality designs that were gradually replaced by stamped versions that were cheaper and easier to manufacture. And that is what we see here with the 42. Nearly the entire gun is made up of stamped steel that has been zinc-plated. Mine has some crappy bluing on top of the zinc, but we will get to that later on. One of the few parts that wasn't to stamping, the hammer, was eventually replaced by one. The stamped hammers were made up of 4 flat hammer-shaped cutouts that were welded together. If we take a look at the bottom, you can clearly see how the frame is made up of 2 halves that were then welded together, and that runs all the way from the front to the back. Prototypes of the 42 were delivered in mid-1942, with production fully ramping up by fall of 1943. This was also around the time that production of the Pistole 34 was finally discontinued. The 2 primary firms that manufactured them were Hugo Schneider, represented by the code WA, and Meinl Scholler, represented by code EUH. Other codes such as QYN and SWW also appear, but they are much scarcer. Now taking a look at some of the assorted features, it would have originally had a lanyard loop at the bottom of the grip. Mine is missing. Now right here you'll notice that just like the 34, it has a hole for mounting equipment like a stock or vertical firing mount. The hole is in a slightly different location, so equipment was not interchangeable between the 2 models. In front of that we have the barrel release. Gone is the lever of the 34, now replaced with a much simpler button. However, opening the barrel is just as satisfying as on the 34. Taking a look inside, we can see how this works. There's an indentation on the barrel assembly right here, and a tab on the inside that is actuated by the release button. When the barrel is closed, the tab is in this position. When you press the button in, it retreats into the frame, and the barrel pops forward because of this torsion spring that is buried up in there. But when you press the button, it retreats into the frame and a torsion spring forces the barrel assembly upwards. Now moving on to the breech face, we have the hole in the middle for the firing pin, and then surprisingly a loaded chamber indicator. This is one of the features that was carried over from the 34, and it is noticeably cruder, but does get the job done. On the side of the frame, just above the trigger guard, is the serial number and manufacturer's code. It is EUH, which as I said earlier, represents the firm of Meinl Scholler. I should also mention that this is the only spot on these where you'll find the original German serial number. There would normally be a Waffenamt right here, but on mine it has been ground off during its post-war service. The final feature I want to show you is the firing pin. Unlike on the 34 where it is integrated into the hammer, on the 42 it now sits in the frame and rides on a little spring. Now like a lot of old German equipment, these did have a life after the war. Quite a few of them were sent to Israel and used for decades there. The Israelis performed a number of modifications, including bluing them and putting a stamp on the top of the barrel. Serial numbers were also added to the barrel on the opposite side of the locking catch. You can see that mine has 2 separate numbers on it, neither of which match the original German number. I suppose that this means that this is the 3rd Pistole this barrel has been on, which helps to highlight their extensive service life. Well, that's all I've got for today. Just wanted to show you an item that I had mentioned in a previous video. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more videos on Militaria, please consider subscribing. Thank you.